Admiral Harry Harris, U.S. Admiral Harry Harris, who heads the U.S. Pacific Command, said in Washington this week that the USS Carl Vinson strike group was currently in the Philippines, the Philippine Sea, I should say, just east of Okinawa. And according to the Admiral, he said that the USS Carl Vinson is currently, and I quote, in striking range and power projection range of North Korea if called upon to do that. So you have the U.S. Admiral Harry Harris saying, Mr. Trump, America, everybody, we're ready to strike the moment we get the phone call. Folks, I'm telling you, it's getting crazy. I don't like it. Summit host Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday called on the United States and Asian powers, which include China, Japan, South Korea, to exercise patience in dealing with North Korea. He's quoted as stating, "It would be as good as any other time to advise people to just go easy, you know? Take a break. Go on vacation. Calm down, everybody. Take a chill pill." He goes on to say, "I would caution everybody, if there is a nuclear war somewhere, a Holocaust, this will become an arid land." Wow. Woo-wee. I mean, this is the latest report concerning North Korea turning to Southeast Asia nations for support in battle with U.S. to stop a nuclear holocaust, and them writing this urgent letter to the Asian 10-member organization lest a nuclear holocaust break out. Now I got a soundbite from the Admiral, U.S. Admiral Harry Harris. This week he was before the House Armed Services Committee. And he was speaking about the U.S. military strategic, the U.S. military strategy in the Asia Pacific, and I'd like to share with you the soundbite as I have it. Let's talk about it.
I wanted to get your professional opinion for the committee here, just how hard it is and challenging to defend South Korea with the location of Seoul and the number of artillery that North Korea has. Could you just go into a little detail, just the challenges that we're going to face if Kim Jong-un becomes aggressive?
Yeah, it's a very dramatic challenge. So Seoul is, I believe, the most densely populated city on the planet. 25 million people in a relatively small area. Within artillery range of the DMZ and the heights north of the DMZ, where Kim Jong-un has a vast array of rocket forces and artillery. So it does pose a significant challenge.
That's an extraordinary hard challenge to counter.
Right.
Do you think we have enough long-range strike aircraft, air-to-ground, air-to-air, close enough that deters Kim Jong-un, or do we need to add additional permanent presence in Japan, Guam, so forth? I know we have rotating forces, but is it enough to make clear to Kim Jong-un that he will lose across this line?
I believe that the military forces we have are sending the right signal to Kim Jong-un. So we routinely fly B-1 and B-52 flights. Just 2 days ago, we had an operation where we had a ship in the East Sea, Sea of Japan, and on the West Sea with the Koreans. The Japanese were involved, and we had a B-52 fly through there. The Japanese handed off to the Koreans, who then escorted the bomber through the Korean Peninsula to the other side. So this is a pretty complicated operation, and it demonstrated to our allies and friends, and also to Kim Jong-un, that we have this capability, that we can bring these forces to bear from all around the Pacific to focus on him if need be. So I'm pleased with the array of forces that we have in terms of fight tonight forces. But as I answered a previous question, I am concerned about follow-on forces and the means to get them there, all of which is affected by readiness, which is affected by the budget, and on and on.
seems to me part of this is a whole of government response. Are we doing enough in the non-military instruments of power? For example, in the 90s, we used banking sanctions that I thought were very effective. Are there other things we should be doing to help put pressure on North Korea?
Yeah, sir, I believe that it is a whole of government effort, and a whole of government effort would be required. And I believe that the different parts of our government are involved in the North Korean problem set.
Should we go back to the banking sanctions? Seems like to me that worked.
Sir, I'm not smart on banking sanctions.
Okay.
So
one last thing. Thinking of Kim Jong-un, he's the grandson of a dictator, son of a dictator. He's been surrounded by people his whole life that tell him what he wants to hear. So it sort of question his rational decision-making on this. But how would you interpret his strategic objectives? What is he trying to pursue? What's his goals with his behavior?
So I believe that there's an element of respect that he's going after. I believe he wants to be considered a nuclear state, a nuclear capable state. I believe he seeks unification of the Korean Peninsula to his favor, and I believe that he seeks to have that dominance in that part of the world.
Wow. All right, so again, that was Admiral Harry Harris discussing the North Korea situation, stating that they can and will fire a nuclear weapon. Also, I got updates concerning Vladimir Putin of Russia and what he has to say concerning the tense situation in the Korean Peninsula. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that the crisis over North Korea's nuclear program is deepening after the issue dominated talks with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Moscow. He and Abe believe the situation on the Korean Peninsula has, and I quote, seriously deteriorated, Putin said Thursday after the Kremlin meeting. He says, and again I quote, we call on all states involved in the region's affairs to refrain from military rhetoric and seek peaceful, constructive dialogue. The Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, said he and Putin spent a long time discussing North Korea during the 3 hours of talks that also focused on resolving a seven-decade-long dispute over 4 islands seized by the Soviet Union at the end of World War II. The issue has prevented Russia and Japan from signing any type of peace accord. Now, the 17th meeting between the two leaders took place after Russia warned just yesterday that the Korean Peninsula is currently, and I quote, on the brink of war. Japan has sent warships to join drills with the United States aircraft carrier Carl Vinson, which is leading a current battle group ordered to the region by President Donald Trump of the U.S. Vladimir Putin and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe are also trying to settle the dispute over the sovereignty of the islands known as the Northern Territories in Japan and the South Kurils in Russia. They agreed to create plans for economic cooperation on the islands during talks at Japanese hot resort. Now that's something separate from the current North Korean issue. So they were able to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and that's fine. But the point is that Vladimir Putin has stated and is clearly concerned, and is warning that the North Korea situation has seriously, again, deteriorated. And folks, they're concerned. We gave you reports that the Russian troops are headed to the border of North Korea. And many say, well, you know, the reason why the reason why Russian troops is at the North Korean border is, because if war was to strike, and if North Korea even became defeated, the regime of Kim Jong-un was defeated, it would bring forth a huge amount of refugees, because we would be talking about a free Korea for the first time. Now, I'm not sure how accurate that would be. I mean, I believe that the troops is there, and that could be used as a real life excuse. I mean, that could be a possibility of this massive amount of refugees that will come flooding across the border. I believe, though, that the reason why Russian troops are there it's for the U.S., not in favor, but to possibly protect North Korea. Now you may say, Evangelist, what would be the reason Vladimir Putin would want to protect North Korea? They would want to protect North Korea from being annihilated from the, by the U.S. Because listen, folks, we can do some major damage. We can wipe and annihilate North Korea off the face of the earth. The thing is that would bring in the U.S. and that would expand South Korea, and it would not be favorable, towards the hegemony that Russia currently has towards Western powers, which include the U.S. along with China and other Asian nations. So they have some interest in protecting and keeping North Korea there. Now, do they need to keep the Kim Jong-un regime? I mean, I don't know. That can be up for debate. But either way, they definitely have some interest of keeping North Korea, I have to say, in a way, as a dictatorship, whether Un is there or not. So very interesting situation with the Russian troops being at the border along with Chinese